another episode of the Boy Man King live on YouTube, man. I'm your host, Coach Crump, with my co-host, my man, 100 Grand Chizzy. What's up,
Yes,
man?
man. I'm good, man. How you? Good to
I'm
be back.
blessed, brother. I'm blessed, man. And we have a special guest, man. The late, the great, the only one who know how to do it, to get it done, the Mr. Maestro himself, TEDx speaker, international traveling speaker, also author, also husband, also father, also man of God, poet,
Mm.
entrepreneur, also event planner who has his first conference coming up, Get the Worthy conference coming up in Philadelphia. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the platform, Nate Evans Jr. What's up,
Yes,
brother?
sir.
Man, thank y'all for having me. That was an
Thanks for
intro.
coming.
That was a lot.
I was about to say, like, he
That
was
was a
good on the
lot, right?
nothing. That's
Yeah,
the
I
one.
bro.
gotta,
You
That's
like
all
yeah.
it
that,
taking,
man.
right?
I like how you try to play low ski, but you really like that. You know what I'm saying? That's your swag. You know what I mean?
Hey
Hey,
man, humility. I'm big on humility.
yes,
Yeah.
sir. Yes, sir.
So let's before we get into all the great things you're doing, man, let's kind of get into what we just experienced here recently last month, man. You was able to pull up to the King Con, man. As you know, this men's space is a passion of mine, and I want you to kind of tie it to we came into this space as, me coach you as an entrepreneur, but you doubled down for me to help coach you as a man, and how that came full circle at the King Conference. And you've even invited me to bless your first ever conference as one of the keynote speakers, man. So just kind of talk about the King Conference, but also talk about you as a full adult man deciding to invest in your development as a man. You know what I mean?
Man, yeah, absolutely. So let's start with the King Conference, of course. Um, it's almost hard to explain if you weren't there. You
Mm.
know what I mean? I feel like I'm doing a disservice for the men that weren't in the room, for the people who weren't there. But ultimately, man, it was an experience worth investing in, and I would do it over and over again because I literally flew to Atlanta, I want to say that morning, and then
Mm.
flew back that night,
Mm.
and made that investment. And the reason being was I knew that I would come back a little bit better as a man, as a husband, as a father, as a business owner than I did before I left. And it was huge for me to do that, man, and it exceeded my expectations, of course. From the speakers to the breakouts, man. When we had like the little sessions where we were able to converse about what was happening, man, so much happened, right? Because I gathered what I gathered, but then to hear from other men and other people, like, all right, what did you take away? Oh, word. And we were just bouncing back and forth. It was like I had this plethora of information, of knowledge to take back home. And then not just take it back home, but apply it when I get back home.
Mm.
One thing I can't stand is the people who just take a bunch of notes and they got notebooks full of stuff and phones full of notes. And, I was at this event and I got this. And it's just like, I'm big on like the fruit gotta like show something. Like you gotta show some fruit.
Mm.
And then my wife is like, look, if you're gonna be going to these places, you about to be traveling, you're gonna be spending this money. We need to see some fruit. So for me, it was just this holistic experience of growing as a man, like I said, growing as a father, as a husband, as well as an entrepreneur. And I gained all of that within a matter of hours of being in the presence of you all and then other just incredible people, man. So it was beautiful. And for me, it was this because it started with you initially, coaching a cohort of us and experiencing that, right? First time experiencing you as a coach and just watching how meticulous you was and how attentive you was and how detail oriented you was, not to just teach us techniques, you know what I mean? But to
Mm.
invest in us as people.
Mm.
And that was huge for me, man. That's where a lot of my breakthrough happened, right? Personally and in my business, because I started to become a different person. I
Mm.
became a different version of Nate under your tutelage, right?
Mm.
So fast forward, we get to the King Con, and it's just like, man, to see it all come together and then to double back and then watch you put this thing on. You know what I
Mm.
mean?
Mm.
And now I'm planning an event. I'm just like, yo, this ain't easy at all. Like, you know what I mean? You're on the other side. You're like, oh, this is dope, man. This is incredible. Then you
Yeah.
realize, like, oh, it's cost and not just money. It
Yeah.
cost a lot.
Yeah. And the crazy thing about it, I'm gonna give it to Chizzy because we all understand like the importance of like the necessity of investing in ourselves. But I
Hmm.
told the team, I was like, man, it's so much bandwidth for me to take this on. But like when I get there, everybody's like, oh, we're next year, next year, next year. And I'm like, bro, it took everything and some in me to do this year. I need to take a whole rest of the year hiatus of just reflecting to even process taking this on again. So me and the team talked about some pivots administratively, but the biggest thing, like you said, is like it's not just the cost of the event itself, it's the cost of the time, it's for equity. But we got to be honest about this. What I left with the conviction of continue to move forward, however we decide to move forward, was the necessity of the space. Because there is a lot of spaces for entrepreneurship, for leadership, for networking and all that stuff. There's not a lot of space for people to talk about what men need and how that plays out and how that connects to women and how the women can be a part and how we all could work together and we just sit in that. There's no breakup of another conversation. That's the only conversation we're having, and we're having it all day. And we're having it on different levels and different dynamics and different perspectives. Like that is just, if I wasn't doing that, I got to say to myself, especially with women in the room, where is another space that we're not going to say, okay, now let's no disrespect. Now let's talk about the women. Let's talk about the children. Let's talk. No. No matter what we're talking about how we can help the men. You know what I mean? How everybody plays a part in that. And that for me was like, it's about ministry. It's not about the brand. It's not about the business. It's about this is needed for the marketplace for just men, because that's what the resounding effect, separate from, hey, I can't wait next year, we got to have this and that, was all the men to say, man, thank you for creating this space for men. And I think, Chizzy, that's kind of one of your hallmarks of your advocacy of the platform is having this space. You even mentioned coming on the call today. It was like, man, sometimes I just like get on the call because it ain't even about, they think it's about me trying to teach somebody else something, but I'm in real time in this space growing as a man myself, investing in myself. Yeah.
I think we do a really good job, and like you said, creating this space where you can really, really demonstrate, show, talk, and have that vulnerability of movements. Because, as we know, men, it's hard for a lot of men to really step back and look within themselves intrinsically and say, all right, what do I need in moments of my struggle? And I think we do a really good job in setting the stage and having individuals like Nate, like myself, like you, like all these speakers that come and are able to be seen in a different light, where everyone that participated from the speaker's perspective, they're experts in their field, and the individuals that participate in the conference can really view them from an ideal perspective in terms of how they see and how they portray their talents, their skills, their business sides, everything about them. And when you start to deconstruct internally what each individual struggles with and they show that vulnerability, it makes the crowd feel, it makes the people that participate in the conference themselves safe. And we create a really, really safe space so that we can just talk and not feel as though we have to put up a facade. We have to put up who we want the world to see us to be versus who we really are when we step into that space. I think we do a really good job in creating the environment that allows men in particular, and the women, of course, to be vulnerable and to open up and have those conversations that are necessary to get those breakthroughs. So that, like you said, Nate, when you leave, you're coming with something tangible and you're taking away from the experience that you can now build on with the support of the people that you've now networked with. So I think we do a really, really good job in that. And, those breakout sessions are vital to that experience.
Yeah. And I want to ask you guys a question. Why is it so hard, and what can we do about it, for men to show up in rooms like that? Right? Because we're like
It's
in our
uncomfortable.
worlds, we're the anomalies, right? It's like we're that guy in our community, we're that guy in our family but why something that every man need that space, but why is it so hard for a man to actually invest and show up in that space?
Because I'm 40 plus years old, and when you over the years have constructed a self-identity based around me as the individual, me as a person, me as the educator, or the guy that works in the community. It's hard to really step outside of myself and say, I also struggle with
Right.
pornography. I also struggle with spirituality. I
Mm.
also struggle with feeling validated by my peers. It's very difficult for the average man, for anybody to really do that because it's uncomfortable. And
That pride though.
Right.
it's definitely pride. It's 100% pride. It's remember, a lot of the stuff that gets projected upon us in society says that this is not how a man functions. A man is designed to be strong. We've seen it, we've heard it. A man is designed to really, really, really not be able to show vulnerability and to show
So
that to show that is weakness, not
so
strength.
I'm gonna let Nate get in here on that and answer as
Mhm,
well. But to go back to you, Chizzy.
mhm.
So do we need to, as men and women, approach men knowing that pride is there as a
Fact.
space that we got to help navigate? Like just
100%.
yeah.
100%. And it starts with leadership. It starts with leadership. It starts with us, the individuals involved in creating the environment to show that this is not about pride. We are experts in our areas. And when you take off all of that stuff, at the end of the day, we are just men trying to navigate our lives, our spiritualities. And pride really has no place in personal and self-development
Mm.
because that actually impedes self-development. It's actually the antithesis of self-development because it says that I have it all. I have all the answers. I don't need your support. I don't need your help. I don't need to show you that these are my deficits to ultimately grow from those
Rose
deficits.
points. Oh. Yeah, Nate.
Mm. Yeah. So let me say this first. Two things. One, what you all have created isn't normal. Two, is super necessary. You know what I mean? And I think for men on the outside who haven't experienced it, where there's that disconnect, you know, like you said, there's that pride there. And for a lot of us, we don't want to show our gaps. We don't want to have gaps, right? So to have someone else show me the areas in which I'm struggling and then try to address those things, that's a sensitive place, man. That's a sensitive
Mm,
place. And it actually takes a strong man to step in and be like, hey, I need some help in these areas. It takes a really
mm,
strong man to be like, man, you know what? I can step it up in here. I do need some type of coaching and guidance. I've struggled for so long. That's the real strength right there. And I think that there is this major misconception of what strength for a man looks like.
mm.
But in our reality, it looks like vulnerability and doing the things necessary to grow as a man.
Yeah, and Nate, I love when you start to like challenge the narrative because that's one of the things I actually took from you as a coach. Great thing about coaching, you learn from your students. The student can become the teacher. And Nate had this exercise, Chizzy, when I was working with him, when he was like, "Yeah, I got this thing," and I don't know, Nate, if you still do it, but you had the alarm. You said, "What narrative am I telling myself?"
Yeah,
And
it
you
went
had
off this morning.
yeah, you have it go off every day where you have like you challenge yourself to challenge the narrative because
Mhm.
everything is programming you, right? Subconsciously, whether you're aware of it or not, you're being programmed. But it's like there's a play that's run, there's a script that's running, there's a narrative that's being self-taught that's happening, and you got to kind of stop and say, the narrative I'm telling myself, is this actually conducive, healthy, productive, honest, real, true, pure, holy, acceptable, like
Mm,
challenging whatever narrative is going on? Let me have an alarm on my phone that goes off every single day to ask myself a question. What narrative? I've given that to my students ever since you told me that, by the way. I put it in the game plan coaching curriculum. I giving you the
mhm.
credit. I have like, Nate Evans Jr., you know what I mean? Quotation. Like I got this from one of my students, but I think it's so powerful, bro. And I talk about that, man. Like how that came about, why you got it, and we can kind of talk about, your whole mental health background.
Yeah, for me, I would have these just perpetual negative thoughts constantly. And this was for years, you know what I mean, growing up in trauma and things like that. Um, And I got really low at one point where it's like I wanted to figure out how do I disrupt this mindset because like you said, it's not conducive. It doesn't help me. I can't create from this space. It's not healthy for my family. And for me, I understand and I'm aware enough of myself to be like, look, put some parameters in place. Like,
Mm,
yeah, you can be strong. Yeah, you can do these things. But look, let's not even have to go through that. So, like you said, I set it up on my phone, and it's actually not just that. It's like several different alarms that go off probably like every 3 hours throughout the
Mm,
day that just constantly just like, hey, let me disrupt whatever's going on right now. Let me check to see where your levels are at. Because I know me, pessimism was my first choice. And that was just me being honest with me. People see me as an optimist, they see me as this positive person, and I love that and I appreciate that. But inside here, it's dark. It can get dark, and it's like, okay, I'm aware of that. Let me address that. Like, let me not front like I'm this guy. Like, I know y'all think I'm Superman. I'm really Clark Kent. I'm gonna just be honest with you. And I
mm,
do these things to just take care of myself. I don't want to allow myself to slip back in those dark places. So, hey, I need to check my narrative. What am I believing today? Right? What am I embodying? I might have woke up or I might have had a rough night. I woke up and I'm already in this spiral. I need to disrupt that ASAP. And then not only do I need to disrupt it, but now I need to feed myself something positive. So that's where the next message comes in, a few hours later. Yeah, so for me, man, it was this constant pursuit of staying out of those dark spaces because I realized how um lethargic I would feel when I would
mm,
let those thoughts just play, 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 play. And for me, I couldn't show up as my full self with that kind of mindset, especially in a space where people are looking to me for inspiration. You
yeah,
know what I
yeah.
mean? So it's like, okay, let me stop playing around. Let me apply these things that I'm teaching and these things that I'm sitting there trying to share with others. Let me practice what I preach and not be hypocritical. So yeah, that's how it really all came about, to be honest.
mm,
So we talked, and shout out to you especially, man, because you talk openly about your struggles with mental health. Obviously, this is a space that you embody, a space that you are dominating, and you're actually taking steps to really be a huge advocate in this space. And obviously, I would have previously talked about your episode that's dropping on Monday, but I think it's important to highlight that um, you know intentionality is one of the most important things. And even if because there are viewers out there who say, well, I don't struggle with mental health. I don't in their minds, they don't seem to feel that they need to really, really adopt a mindset or put regular benchmarks in their lives to help them to transition through different phases of their lives. You know what I mean? Speak a little bit to that individual that says that, man, I don't need none of this stuff. Like I'm cool. I don't struggle with mental health. I don't really see myself to have that level of disability. I'm going to just use that term loosely, disability, in
Right.
terms of how I process information. Like, how does a quote unquote average or regular male benefit from, again, setting those benchmarks and being intentional in that particular way so that they progress through the different phases of their lives?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think one of the biggest things is being preventative
Mhm.
instead of having to be reactive. You know what I mean? I just got an oil change for my car yesterday. Um, it's one of those things where you stay on top of the maintenance so there isn't a bigger problem down the road. Because just because you find now, you want to make the assumption that you always will be.
Right.
And for me, understanding that, it's like, man, how can I be proactive in this approach? I was just talking with a few of my friends. We have a group chat, and it's funny because we were talking about the Achilles injury, right? As we all know, I ruptured my Achilles back in January, but
Was it
also,
a tomahawk or was it a reverse? What type of dunk you trying to do?
nah, it was a between the leg
Oh, it
heavy.
was
It
a
was
Kyrie.
Yeah, it was one of
Was
those. It was
Kyrie
it was
the
bad,
boys?
man.
Oh, like
It
an
was
East Bay or something they call that or something?
right,
East Bay?
right,
Oh,
right,
man.
right. But it's interesting, man, because I ruptured mine in January. Two of my closest friends, um, one of my closest friends, Tony, his wife, just ruptured her Achilles a month ago. And then my boy James, who was in my wedding, his girlfriend just ruptured her Achilles 2 weeks ago. So they're in the group chat. It's crazy, bro. I don't know what happened when we hit 30, but it got crazy. It's like basketball is like a sniper out here. It's just taking people out. So y'all be careful, man. Y'all brothers be careful.
Thanks.
bro.
But one of the things is everybody's been coming to me for like advice because this has happened to me twice now. And I'm big on telling them, like, hey, be preventative. I need y'all to be stretching, do functional training, like get ahead of any types of pains so you can do your best to avoid this injury. So it's the same with mental health. It's like, okay, oh, I don't need a therapist right now. You may not. You may not. But would it hurt to just go talk to somebody? Would it hurt to just put these practices into place? It won't take anything from you, but then you set yourself up for the risk of, okay, you know what? I ain't even worried about that right now. I'm gonna go do my thing. I'm gonna hustle. I'm gonna grind. And then you hit that moment where you need this thing now. And
Mm.
by that time, it's like you're in desperation mode. So I'm big on like just preventative. I text my therapist earlier, just checking in. Hey, look, I was feeling like this. I don't think it's nothing, but I just wanted to let you know. And she's like, all
Yeah.
right, cool. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Yeah.
and so
And
go ahead, go ahead, go
yeah,
ahead.
and that's kind of like, for me, there's a fundamental misunderstanding of manhood and personal development overall. It's like it always baffles me, like the non-spoken understanding and acceptance of physical health. Like you
Mm,
don't have to like convince a guy to get in the gym. You don't have to convince a guy to get some cardio. You don't even have to convince a guy to change his diet. Like some guys will just do it arbitrarily, like without being told and forced and going seeing a professional. Guys will just do that. But when it comes to spiritual, mental, and emotional health, nah. Or I get to it later. It's like it is the literally the same approach that you would take to physical health. You take the same approach to mental, emotional, and spiritual health. And so it's like we are confusing, in my humble opinion, mental health between a mental diagnosis. It's like physical health. It's just you take care of your physical health, but you may be physically handicapped with like an Achilles injury, right? So you have a special rehab and special thing you got to do. Mental health, you need to be doing mental health daily,
every day.
like you would do physical health. But some people have a clinical diagnosis of a mental illness
Mhm.
that they have to have a prescription of services or support or medicine. But I'm like, you should be working on your mental health every day. And I tell people all the time, one of the benefits I've had in my mental health, in my emotional health, in my spiritual health is being held accountable by my wife. You know,
That's
that's
good.
been my number one coach for 22 years. And I'm like, her one of her greatest attributes is she's helped me see myself because you can't see the picture when you're in the frame. And
Mhm.
so many guys struggle because they operate in a world that they've created without
Mm,
having accountability.
that's good.
So,
It's
so
a
a lot of
weird.
guys have, so a lot of guys has customized a culture of their world
Mhm.
Mhm.
but they're the man or they have full autonomy and they have authority in their world. They have avoided any incubator that makes them put up a mirror, that makes them
Mm,
be held. So they're like, on my relationship, I ain't trying to get married, bro. Or man, my kids, you know how it is, man, my baby mama been, or the job, the boss, everything's a reflective and a deflective thing of not having themselves accountable. And I tell people a lot of my pruning and a lot of my processes and a lot of my develop is that I hold on to my commitment, not because I wanted to, not because I feel like it, and not because it felt good, but
mm,
because I stayed core to who I am as a man. And from that, by just being accountable, I had to make some adjustments. I had to be patient. I had to be considerate. I had to go read a book. I had to go to a revival. I had to get a coach. I had to get a pastor. I went there not because somebody told me, but I'm gonna honor my commitment. And in honor my commitment, I had to make adjustments, and that helped develop those other aspects of my life.
You know what I'm realizing that it's easy to evaluate physical ailments, obviously, than it is to evaluate emotional and mental and psychological ailments. And because we as men have actually conditioned ourselves to not analyze and not diagnose our mental illnesses and our mental challenges, even if it's something as simple, small as behaviors that we normalize every day,
Come on.
it's easy to really, really just skate on the radar and not be able to evaluate and analyze how my physical behaviors are a representation of my mental well-being or state of mind. When you break your finger, it's easy. It's disjointed. You go get a cast, a splint, whatever. It's fixable. But when you talk, I mean, because you know how it's supposed to function, and because largely a lot of men don't even know how they should function in
Mm,
society, in
that's fair.
relationships, in life, in spirituality, they don't even recognize, they're not even on the radar as to why what they're doing could be directly related to the lack of mental health or their instability that they feel socially, emotionally, or psychologically. And I think that's where a lot of us, myself included, fall short as it relates to how am I showing up in a space? And if I'm showing up in this particular space, why am I conditioned myself to function in that way? And how do I internalize that first psychologically? And then it gets demonstrated in the behavior. And so that's a very, very difficult thing to really sit back and analyze because physical attributes and physical responses are cause and effect. You know what I mean? If you run laps, you do cardio, you can see the physical representation of losing weight, your breath getting better, and all these things. When it comes to your mental health, you really, really don't. Sometimes it's hard to really see the physical representation of of where you are mentally. So it doesn't cause you to really analyze yourself and look at, okay, what do I have to do to get a different result? And I think that's a very, very difficult part for a lot of men to really, really digest and analyze for the purposes of developing themselves in a way where they attach behaviors with a good physical, social, emotional, and spiritual space.
But that's on us, and I like to Nate to speak to this too. But that's why we created the Boy Man King podcast, because we're not talking enough as men to say, hey, I'm running this play for relationally, and it's a 20-year play. You know,
Mm,
one thing, Nate, we was in DR talking, and we had that little circle of men when we all were just
yeah.
pouring into each other, where you guys was like hearing my philosophies of approach, like, yo, you was running a 15-year play, you was running a 10-year play, you was running 20. I'm like, yeah, if I'm breaking generational curses, if
Mm.
people hear a phrase of generational curse, but it takes a generation to break that curse.
Yeah.
Phew.
So people are here, oh, there's a generational curse. I got the heart, I got the passion. So I'm gonna go do something for a week or a month or a year. It's like, nah. So I'm gonna break a generational curse that's coming from a family lineage. So that means for that one particular thing, I'm committed for 20 years of
Mm.
redirecting the
So
spirit
that
of it.
your children benefit
And
from
Right.
that from
I'm
that
committed to
share.
redirecting the spirit for 20 years, just on
Yeah.
that one element. But we're not talking enough as men to be like, man, you know, I've been going through it for 5 years. Hey, congratulations. Keep going. You made it through the
Mm.
first quarter. You know what I'm saying? Like, but I'm being honest, because I got friends now who in their 40s who like, man, I got divorced and I never should have got divorced. You know, I got
Mm.
friends who like, man, I should have never, you know, I mean, when I think about 7 years ago, bro, I was tripping. When I think about, yes, she was wrong, or yes, this was messed up, but man, I could have. And the reason why, their pride had them making all of these life decisions in a silo.
Yeah.
So talk to us, Nate, about how men need to really, you know, Chizzy talked about it, like physically we put on a splint, we put on the cast to keep us not only in a certain lane, but to heal us until we're ready to go have all options available to us. What are some things mentally as men that, hey, bro, for a season, I need you to wear this splint. I need you to wear this
Mm.
sling. I need you to put yourself in a cast until you get the healing you need, you get the results you need, you build the habit that's necessary and develop the behavior that's conducive, then we can, like, what are some things mentally that men can do to put themselves in that? You can't see it physically, but hey, here's some mental, you need to go on a splint for 10 months to 10 weeks, you know what I mean? 30-day detox, whatever that is. What's some
Mm.
things men can do mentally?
Yeah, man, that I got so wow. So that was loaded, but so there's several things men can do mentally, man. I think one of the biggest things they can do, right? We can do as men, and it's very simple. It is being as honest as possible, as quickly as possible about how we feel about a thing, about something that, and then when I say a thing, I mean something that triggers us. A lot of times, I know for me personally, certain things will happen around the household with my wife, with other people, maybe family members, that would trigger an emotion in me, and I would just bottle it up.
Come on.
But it was one of the most dangerous things I could have done, right?
Mm,
Just continue to bottle it up because at some point it has to come out.
Mm.
And if I don't be intentional about when I'm going to let it out, right? Initially, at some point it's going to come out at the most unopportune time,
As it
right?
often does.
Where I'm gonna have a breakdown, I'm gonna
Yep.
snap, like something crazy. I'm gonna yell at my wife, or it's just punch a wall, like something crazy is gonna happen if I'm not intentional about addressing the thing as soon as it happens, right? I'm not saying a long drawn out conversation, but like, yo, hey, something's off, right? This bothered me. This triggered me for whatever the reason was. And that's a muscle that we have to develop, right? Over time, you develop that muscle. I know for me, I had to just start being honest. I would just let my wife know, like, hey, look, hey, this happened and this happened. I felt the way about that. And I had to be honest with myself, like, hey, I kind of tensed up when that happened because I remember my uncle used to come in the house drunk, kicking doors and yelling. And for whatever reason, you raised your voice to a certain octave and it triggered something in me that caused me to shut down. And just being as transparent as I could about that. So that's one of the main things, man, addressing things quickly, um, sharing how you really feel. And we have to get away from this is something we really need to practice. I'm good. We got to get away from I'm
Took the
good.
words right out of my mouth, bro.
We got
For
to get away.
sure.
Man, I was listening to this podcast once and it said men deserve to die old. And I was like, what? And it's like, yeah, men deserve to die old. However, we live our entire lives saying I'm good when we aren't. And I think it's very, very important that we advocate and speak up for ourselves. It starts with being honest about the things that are triggering you and then getting away from the verbiage of I'm good. Like when I talk to my boys, I check in, hey, how you feeling today, bro? I'm good isn't acceptable. I don't want any easy answers. I need a little bit more. And then give me a scale of 1 to 10. How you feeling?
I was just about to say what we do on the prayer line.
Yeah,
Yeah.
one through 10. I need to know how you feeling so I can at least know how to navigate it and how to approach you. But when you say I'm good, I'm lost. I don't know what that means. I don't know if you on the edge. I don't know if you super excited. You just got to promote. I have no idea. It's too
Again,
much
that's that
gray.
pride, boy. That's that prideful response so that you answer the question, but you really don't want to go deep with
Right,
what you're
right.
really, really struggling with. And so that precipitates, like you said, another conversation. So what do you mean when you're good? So even some of my students in the past, my children, how was your day today? It was good. Okay, so tell me what was good about it. And then it
Mm,
now forces a conversation about what actually is defined under good.
right,
And so good for some people could mean it was unbothered or something happened and it kind of it got dealt with early. A good could simply mean I'm good. I'm in a good
right,
space. Or it could mean, for most of us, it means I don't really want to engage at that level. You're asking me and I'm gonna give you that standard response, but I'm not really trying to go there with you for a number
Mhm.
of reasons. You know what I'm
right.
saying? But I also believe that us who function in this space and work in this space and live in this space have a responsibility to bring people up to a certain level so that our conversations and our responses on good are can facilitate a conversation. And if you
Mhm.
know your brother, because you know your friends, if you know your brother's not good, you're like, yo, like I could tell, yo,
Mhm.
something's going on with you, man. You want to talk about it, or just further explore what that may look like or what that may feel like, so that now they know when they come to Nate, and they come to me, and they say I'm good. That's going to come with some further exploration. You know what I
Right.
mean? Yeah.
Right. And Coach Crump, you used to say this all the time. What was it? Liar, liar, pants on fire.
Bro, liar, liar, pants on fire.
I'm serious, man. We have to be honest with ourselves as men about what we're being challenged with and what we're going through, man. You have to play a part in your own rescue. That's
Yeah.
just it's not, it may not seem fair, but it's the reality. You have to play a part in your own rescue. And part of that is advocating for yourself by speaking up on how you're feeling. Even if you can't fully communicate it, right? You don't know, I don't know what these feelings are. You just saying like, hey, something seems off. You know what I mean? We can work from that. But just saying I'm good, just trying to mask it. Oh, I'm straight, man. I'm cool. I ain't worried. It's gonna pass by. It's like it's not. It's not.
Yeah,
You just tucked it in there with the rest of the stuff. And at
yeah,
some point, that thing gonna jump out.
facts.
Mhm.
And for me, it kept jumping out with the wife. You know, I love her so much, but I love her so different. Right.
Mm,
So for her, she was like, this ain't working. So again, I'm a beneficiary of being held accountable for a long period of time by one person who can see me in every aspect of my life. And I finally let go of that Superman complex, but I still struggle with the imposter syndrome on some levels. And I started to have the conversation, but I had to catch up to the behavior. But I'm very needy as a spouse. Like I'm like, hey, I want sex multiple times a week. I want this. I want talking. I want all of that. And she's like, but you have to understand what space I'm in. So we're like building back our
mm,
friendship right now, and I'm being more cognizant of you're saying that as if she's in an ideal space.
Yeah.
You're saying it as if
mm,
you was there this whole time building up the building blocks that you're doing now. It's like you was doing that 15 years ago. You wasn't doing that. You was ignorant, you was negligent, you was
mm.
inconsistent. And then that had for her to cope, right? For her to cope with my ignorance, with my
Yep.
negligence, and my inconsistent, she had to put up something to just make herself cope with me for years,
Wow.
right? So I'm deconstructing, right, a narrative that I helped create in my marriage by building back up the friendship and releasing the expectation. You know what I
Mm,
mean? Because her frustration, like, how you gonna have this huge expectation when I'm communicating to you that my needs emotionally are not being met, and then I'm being frustrated because I'm doing this effort, but I'm not effective with my emotional because I'm justifying, well, I'm paying bills.
right, right.
Okay, but newsflash, Negro, you supposed to pay bills. You know what I'm saying? Like, newsflash, Negro, you supposed to take care of your kids. Newsflash, you supposed to protect your wife. I need something intimate with you that I can only get from you, that I vowed only to get from you, and I need it too, just as much you
Wow.
need,
Help
chitty
me
chitty
help
bang bang,
you,
but
sort of
yeah,
thing. Yeah.
bruh, she's trying to break it down in layman terms to you, boy. You know what I'm saying? And here's the thing. It was a couple things she brought up to me recently, Nate. I'm gonna be honest. My coach helped me see myself. So this is what I
Mm,
tell fellas too, like emotional intimacy is a skill. This is not
Mhm.
something you're born with. Newsflash. So all of this, I'm willing, baby. I'm committed. You still gonna be incompetent though. Like,
mm,
like it's important for us to understand, like, it's some aspects of what a relationship needs that you're just severely incompetent with. But the good thing about skills, they can all be learned,
mhm,
right? And so I got a coach and a therapist. I'm on the front end and the back end of, okay, I shot my shot. It's not hitting at all. So I got to go to one of those perspectives. I got to go to my counselor or my therapist. My coach or my therapist to help me see. You know what I mean? And one thing, like I had a good intention, but the pathway paved to nowhere is
Yeah.
paved with good
Good
intentions.
intention.
right.
So I had this good intention of helping some domestic stuff around the house, and my wife lost it. Like, you don't understand, you don't see what I'm trying to get. I'm like, what do you? I was helping. She's like, no, you was insensitive. And I'm
Mm,
like, because I know my heart, I know
Mhm.
for a fact I was being helpful. I ain't taking on you talking about I'm being insensitive. Are you crazy? I've been doing this, I've been doing that. You tripping. So, but I've embraced accountability. So I go to my marriage coach. He's like, oh, if you would have did that to me, I hate when people touch my stuff. I hate when people, even if it's my wife. I was like, yeah. And I was like, and then my wife checked me. It was early this year. She was like, she was like, you didn't even, I brought that up and you still didn't see it. And I said, I didn't, babe. That's why I gotta get a coach.
mm,
So I'm really, my pride is huge, you know. And so I have to really work on like corralling that. So like even when I tell people I go to the prayer line every day, man, Crump, you've been on prayer line 13 years. How you keep showing up? Because I know me. I
mm.
need accountability. I need accountability spiritually. I need accountability relationally. I need accountability emotionally. And I need accountability
Self-awareness.
mentally for me to develop the skill and competencies to fulfill the responsibilities that God has not only have in front of me, but the ones he's preparing me for.
Mm.
Yo, there are
Yeah.
things that we do every day that we will never not do. We will never not take a shower, never not brush our teeth, never not eat, never not, go to make a dollar. And certain things we will walk around this planet and never not do. And that we do it because we know that it's going to give us a result. And so if you want to have success in any part of your life, if you have deficits in any part of your life, you have to do something every day to get the outcome that you're looking for.
Mm-hmm.
It ain't something you just do once and then you get it and then you take a break for a little bit. So to your point, like every day there's an evaluation and there's a question to be asked. What am I going to do today to get the result that I'm looking for, that my wife's looking for, that my significant other's looking for, that my business is looking for? Because I have to do something every day to get something done, to get a result, just like eating, just like taking a shower, but sometimes for some reason that escapes us in
Yeah.
a lot of areas of our lives.
Mm.
And you would think it's elementary that, all right, if I want to have a good relationship with my wife, I have to do something every day and go to the source of the individual who can help me help us. But in our minds, we just circle back to us and what we think because we just get consumed by us as opposed to you got somebody right here next to you who could really and truly just give you the game plan.
Yeah, and I want to say this too, and I'm bringing back to you too, Nate, because Chizzy, you said it's harder for us to see the results. I want to talk as men. I'm seeing the results. I come home to a peaceful home with my wife and kids, and we got to stop having these Instagram expectations on what success is. I get to come home to my wife and kids to a peaceful environment. Come on, somebody. You
That's
know
real
what I'm
success.
saying? Come on, somebody. You know what I'm saying? Like we
That's
gotta
real
stop
success.
all this other stuff that we're making up, bro. Men, you know what a man wants? To come home to his wife and kids to a peaceful environment. What that allows me to do? Chill and watch the game. What allows me to do? Have a conversation with my son, who you can feel this subconscious pressure of me being a hooper and him being a hooper and me playing pro. And so I came to him last night. So I had two blessings yesterday. I want to share with you guys. And Nate, I want to pass the floor back to you. But just talking about like so me honoring my commitment, me investing in myself, me not giving up on my values. I went through what I went through, but I get to have my son and daughter underneath my roof their entire lives, right? And my son is at 14, be 15 this summer. He's going to the #1 public high school basketball program in the state of Georgia, top 5 in the country of America.
That's fire.
And so it's Friday night, and I had to explain to him, bro, detox, play video games. I came and hugged him, rubbed his head, just like, bro, it's okay to sleep in on a set, like because I know what he's about to get into. We got trials in a couple weeks for the summer team. You know what I mean? So I was like, it's okay to disconnect on Friday. Don't even talk like whatever you want to do, kick it with your boys, play video games, do absolutely nothing. Like that's okay. It's almost like it was a woo side. It was yeah. I'm like, bro. I said, make it part of your routine. Like on Fridays, bro, you check out. I say, check out of the world. Like whatever the world has
Mm.
put on you, like check out of everything and just do you. Friday night to Saturday. So man, we've been bumming all day, the whole family. But my wife said something to me yesterday. She's going through a lot in her personal life with her family, and she was just like, "You're my friend," and she was like, "I just want to be with you." And for me, that means so much because of what we've been through. Does that make sense? It's cool for her to say that in year 2, but it means way more in year 22. You know what I mean? Because I know the seasons we've been in, but she was like, "You're my best friend, and I just want to be with you." And I know how much friendship in the relationship means to her. And for her to say arbitrarily, without me, hey, did that make it? I didn't do a grandioso thing, which is like, you like to do grand gestures, Chris. I just want to see the day-to-day stuff that don't cost no money, that just shows
Mm.
effort and time and consideration. And I'm like, okay, And so I'm working on it, and her little data boys along the way is like, okay, keep it up. So when you say it's harder to see the reward, Chizzy,
Mm-hmm.
I just kind of want to give a couple examples of it may take a longer time,
Mm-hmm.
but
Mm-hmm.
there is a reward that you get to experience. And I just wanted to share that.
Mm-hmm.
No, that's good. And I'll be honest, I'm glad you said that because it just made me realize that I'm seeing the reward as well. Me and my
Mm,
wife, we've been together for quite some time, but we started as close friends before, things got serious and then you get titles, you get married. And for whatever reason, man, we got married and initially it just everything got really serious. Like I don't know, it's like somebody just sucked the fun out the room. It was just like, why are we so serious every day? I don't know if it
why
was
so
just
serious?
yeah, like why so serious? I don't know if it was the bills, I don't know if it was the home, I don't know what happened, but it felt like everything was just business. It was just like, all right, we do this, we do this, we do this, and we lost the joy and the fun of just being each other's presence. And as of lately, we adopted, getting back to like date nights and making it
Mm,
a regular thing to where, like you mentioned, just bumming it. We do this thing now where she's obsessed with like these Chicago and PD shows and doctor
mm.
shows and all of that. I wasn't really into it, but I'm like, all right, I'll watch it. Let's watch it. And I'll be honest,
Did she make you a Grey's Anatomy? Did you get Grey's Anatomy? Do you got
that's
that?
that's that's loading up. Cause we're finishing up the Chicago Med
Sheesh,
stuff, so
man.
that's the next.
My wife got me and my daughter. I'm like, first I try to dodge my wife, like, oh, that's good, that's good. Only to come back and just say, you want to watch something? Jada want to watch Grey's Anatomy. I'm like, Jesus. It's like 26 seasons in
I'm
there.
about to say, is this like 20 some seasons of that joke?
Yeah,
Like
that's
20
all of
some
them though.
episodes.
That's all of them. They got like 25. Like whoever the writer is, he be in the zone, bro, because he be
That's
writing these
what's the girl
episodes.
name, man? She
Shonda,
did Shonda
Oh
Rhimes.
yeah,
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 Shonda Rhimes.
yeah,
Shonda Rhimes. Yeah,
Uh,
she be doing that. That was the first
yeah.
one she did. Then she did the one with
Scandal.
the lawyer girl.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway,
Oh,
well, we
Scandal.
digress.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
So my
Scandal. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
me and my we do this thing now, like I said, and I love it, man. I'll turn down plans and just I love it. And we'll just come in, we'll watch a couple episodes, but I've noticed our interaction. So we talking between the episodes, we be laughing. And now it's to a point. I know the characters, I'm all invested, but it feels like early on we were just like really friends and really enjoying each other's company as opposed to just operating as this couple that has to do these certain things. And it's been a beautiful experience because now I can come home and my nervous system is relaxed.
Mm,
You go out into the world as a man, it's like, yo, your nervous system is high. You don't know what's going to happen. I'm a black man in America. It's like, I don't
mm,
know what's about to happen. You know what I mean? But I'm going out here to go do what I need to do to provide for my family. And I'm coming home to an environment that just feels comfortable.
mm.
You know what I
Oh,
mean? It's just like it's in the air when you walk in. It ain't because we bought more stuff or we got more pillows. Like you just walk in and it's just in an atmosphere of like,
yeah, come on.
and you can
Here- Here's the,
feel
here's
that.
here's the funny thing too, right? I'm divorced, right? And my daughter, me and my ex-wife, we hang out a lot with, the kids. Like I go to the house, I be cooking with my daughter. She rolls in the house and sees us. They're chefing up stuff, and we hang out, watch TV. Um, Thursday, my daughter had a track meet, and we traveled for the track meet. And it's her and her mom just chilling all day, just talking about track, just chilling. Nice, peaceful environment. And my daughter came up to me in her last event. She's like, "Daddy, it's kind of cool like that. You and mommy are now sitting there and we could talk and your friends." I said, "I like that." It's like, "I got a friend of mine. Her parents are divorced too, and her parents are like best friends." I'm like, "Yeah, but I mean, it's I really, really appreciate you telling me that because you remember the days where it wasn't like that. And I'm so, so happy that we could just come out, we could hang out, and we could be friends, and we could all just do stuff together, and it's not toxic." So I really, really appreciate you telling me that you see the results of both of us endeavoring to be better in a particular space. You know what I mean?
Mm,
And so I'm saying all that to say that it still requires, in your scenario, Chris, in my scenario, intentional work that has to be done on a
come on.
regular basis to get to that space.
Mm,
Because, obviously as a divorced man, as a single man, it's easier to just be like, she's over there and I'm over here. Because, but at the end of the day, if you want to have well-adjusted children and a well-adjusted environment as best as you can, you gotta put in that extra effort. And it's not easy. I can tell you it's not easy to do,
Mhm.
but like you guys, you could see the fruits of the labors when your children start to just validate that damn. And I really, really like the fact that you and mommy are friends and you can
Mhm.
hang out and it's really, really cool, man. So, it's
I,
just good. Go
I
ahead.
want to challenge. I want to challenge the whole easy part because
Hmm.
I think it's just a mental block. Going back to you, Nate, it's like
Mhm.
once you get to this other side, all that stuff you went through, it kind of like is over, right?
Mhm.
Like I think it'd be more challenging if you got this and all that other stuff was still happening. But I found that as you mature, as you develop, as you evolve, and as you put in that work, and you get the relationship to certain spaces,
Hmm.
is not hard. You know what I mean? It's
Mhm.
just being responsible, it's showing up, it's being consistent, but it's not necessarily hard. It's
Right.
just you being like going back to what you said, Chizzy, intentional. You know what I mean? So Nate, I wanna make a hard pivot. Talk about your conference coming up, man. Talk about why you're doing it. Talk about where it is. Talk about the people you got coming, man. Get Come on, man. Talk about the conference coming up, bro.
Yeah, absolutely, man. So, May 24th, 25th, Get to Worthy Summit. It's a 2-day summit in Philadelphia. It's in Philly, so we got to incorporate the arts, of course, kicking it off with an art gallery, poetry, performances. But ultimately, man, I want to help people get through the block of like self-sabotage and feeling worthless.
Hmm.
Um, as I've grown over the last few years, especially under the coaching of Coach Crump, I realized I had a lot of mental blockers, a lot of just limiting beliefs about myself, stuff that I adopted from what was around me, community, family, that just wasn't true. You know what I mean? But it was all I knew. And I hit a certain level in regards to, let's just say, success. And I realized I kept self-sabotaging and setting myself up because I didn't feel worthy of another level. I didn't feel worthy of a better relationship. I didn't feel worthy of more income, all of these different things. And I had got to a moment where I was like, I'm going to stop doing this. Like I was very aware of like, Nate, you got to stop doing this. If you're going to break through it, we talked about generational curses earlier and
Mm,
and what that takes. It's like, yo, if you're going to be the one to like trailblaze and do this, you need to go ahead and break through this barrier. You need to get to a space where you feel worthy enough to do so.
mm,
So that's really where the idea and the concept came from. And for me, God never allows me to teach or speak or do anything or try to share something with someone else that I haven't at least experienced and grown through. So
Hmm.
for me, this is tried and tested. I've grown through this space, and now I want to create an environment where other people can grow as well. Whatever that looks like for you, where you continue to just block yourself with these mental blockers, or you feel like you're less than, right? You don't feel worthy enough. You continue to self-sabotage. You're dealing with constant imposter syndrome when we know how gifted and amazing you are,
mm,
right? There's a lot that we need to experience in this world, and a lot of people hold themselves back, so we never get to experience it. And
mm,
for me, that's what this summit's all about is 2 days of just transformation taking place, to be honest. I firmly believe that people who come into that environment, they don't have any other option but to change as they leave out of it later that evening. So yeah, it's gonna be dope. Obviously, we got my man Coach Crump, who's one of the main keynote speakers.
Mm.
We got a good buddy of mine, Will Toms, who's the co-founder of Rec Philly. He'll be in the building. My homegirl Saya, she's going to be incredible, a digital strategist. She's actually down in Atlanta with y'all. She's coming up as well. Ariane's also coming up from Atlanta. I think she's in the academy now. Yeah, she's going
yeah.
to be coming up. Yeah, she's hype. It's going to be a beautiful environment. We got some of the Speakers Academy up in the building too. So Jeremiah Brown, Brad Butler, a few of the speakers or a few members are also volunteering. So, man, God gave me this vision, and I just said yes. That's it. I just said yes,
So proud.
and now we're going to get to experience the fruit of what that is. And like I said, I believe people are going to walk out of that place transformed, and we're going to be able to experience just a greater version of them.
Yeah, I've been thinking about my presentation. I kind of got the foundation, the framework, but I've been thinking about get to your worthy and when I
Mm,
talk about people that want their worth and they're worthy of being in this world, period. I'm thinking about what's some practical things, and I'm looking at you too, right? And I know Chizzy almost 20 years, and Nate, I've been blessed to work with you the past 3 or 4 years, and I'm like, there's things that stand out as you men are walking in your current essence and your way of being. Um, and myself, but I like coaching. I like watching people and helping people go to A to B. Like that gets me going. And I like to take away what are you practically doing that other people can be because there was a version of you before this version. And
mhm,
then my biggest thing is what was that version not doing? And I never
mm,
want to dismiss the work. So like a part of struggling with worth and being worthy is not just saying I am statements, right?
right.
Like you have to do some work by altering your behavior. And
Mm,
you have to be consistent and hold yourself accountable. You got to read books. You got to join groups. You have to change things that you've been doing. You got to put the work in to build the confidence to navigate and explore, to discover your work. And I think it's imperative. Part of what I'm going to be looking forward to presenting is yes, we're going to talk about clarity and direction, but you got to move. You know what I mean? Like it is imperative to understand as much as there's an epiphany, as much as there's a conversation, as much as there's a revelation.
mm,
The real essence of you walking in it is because you did the work. And that's the part, that's the, to me and everybody that I work with who's there, who's not there, is the information is out there. Sometimes even Chizzy, the awareness is out there.
Yeah.
But what's missing
the work.
to experience it is that work. And
Mm,
Yeah.
what people are dismissing from other people that be like, oh, but yo, but they situation and oh, but don't ever the reason why that man is up there in that space, he's put that work in. You better put
mm,
your boots. And so for me, that's what when it comes to worthy is like just associate if you're struggling with that, 9 times out of 10, you're struggling with the work that you need to do on
mm.
yourself.
So good. That's real, man. It's interesting because even as we talk about the word feeling worthy, um, it's an experience that you can't have if you have not done the work, right? Because there's this internal conversation that you're having with yourself, right? So when
Mhm.
I think about you saying, we're talking about clarity and we're talking about doing the work, man, I could years ago, 3 years ago, whenever we initially started, I could not have carried out this vision of what this is going to be then because
Mhm.
there was so much work that had to take place. And the thing about the work that I think that scares people is there's no time frame on it. It's just like you just in it. You
Mm.
know what I mean? So there's no we want to guarantee. I need my stuff to look like your stuff ASAP. Not
Mhm.
even realizing the work that has taken years for you to become this version of yourself. It
Mm.
wasn't just one self-help book. It wasn't
Come
just
on.
one course. It wasn't just one conference. Like you said, this is intentional work every single day. And I think that that's huge, man. That's a message we need to hear more because we live in a social media world where it's like, one day you hear, next day you hear. And it's like, man, I would love for us to show more of the process, the ups and the downs, and what that looks like. Because for me to get to this space, man, people see what it is, but you don't know what it cost me. Like we
Come on.
talked earlier, you don't know the tears, you don't know the heartache. You don't know the lessons. You don't know the getting up early to talk to God and then reading and studying and asking questions and paying for coaching and all of these things that it cost me. It almost feels disrespectful
Come
if you
on.
just try to
It
just jump the
is.
line. Like
Yeah.
I feel
Yeah.
a way about
It
it.
is.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
It is.
You know what I mean? I really do. I feel a way about it. And it's just like,
You ain't doing what I'm doing. You ain't done what
you,
I'm done. Like you
like
don't
you
get
thought
to get
this,
that. You know what
like,
I mean?
yeah, it's like the mic, just like my fault. I made it look too easy. My
Come on,
bad.
man.
But
Yeah.
there's so much more behind the scenes that I paid for this. And I think part of me being an athlete growing up kind of transitioned into being able to take the coaching and then apply it.
Yeah.
You
And
know what I
Chizzy,
mean?
I love him sharing his recent transformation because it kind of, and he stays in it. You know what I mean? That's what I love about it too. Is like me and him even becoming business partners. I've known Chizzy for 20 years,
Wow.
Mhm.
but I couldn't trust him with the platform until 3 years ago.
Mhm.
Wow.
So like I actually work with him, but I couldn't trust him in my company as
Mm.
a man of God until recently. You know what I mean? And so Chizzy, talk about that. Like, you know what I mean?
Bro, like Nate said, man, that work, that daily routine. We touched on it on the conference. Certain speakers were talking about it. Like, pick some things that you could do every day unequivocally that you will not sacrifice for anything. Your prayer life, your journal life, your therapy life, your workout routines, everything centers around that. For me, especially, that is the staple movement. Those are the starting points. Because what that consistency does in this small little areas, it makes you more focused in the greater areas. So when you're now asked to be focused in other greater areas of your life, you know that consistent work is going to propel you to a space to be ready. Because as we know, the blessings that we get from God, you gotta be ready to receive them when the time comes for them. And you're not gonna get that by just like you said, jumping to the front of the line and saying, nah, he's doing it. It looks easy for him. Maybe I could just jump in front of the line as easy. No, it's not. Like you said, you don't see the times where you're on your knees and you're crying and you're in solitude and you're asking God, like, yo, like if you're with me, like,
Mm,
why do I have less and less and less and less? But I know you're giving me more by taking less. You know what I'm saying? And so people need to see that and feel that and hear that. And it's not a destination because different parts of your life require a different aptitude, a different level of solitude, a different level of consistency in everything that you do in your life. Nate, you know this. Like you say, you wouldn't have been in this particular space had you not put the work in 3 years ago and taken the time out to do that. So, you know, people really, really undervalue consistency with what it is that you do day in and day out. And as we talk about all the time, you could be consistent in a lot of negative ways, and it's going to yield the same result. Make no mistake about it. Consistency is what it is. Whatever you put your efforts towards is what you will maximize, and the things that you'll become good at. Your 10,000 hours or your 10,000 hours. You just got to determine what do you want to put that focus. You get what I'm saying? And so part of that, but also part of that is the accountability with people around you that can say, look, man, you can have a shared experience with. And so for me, I say this I'm probably gonna say it until we're up to the 300th episode of Boy Man King. Like this is more about my development and how I benefit from it more than anything else. You know what I mean?
Mm.
Because I can see like you, I can see the fruits of this labors in the conversations I have with my children, the relationships I continue to build with my ex-wife. You know what I'm
mm,
saying? And I accentuate that for a reason because it's brothers out there like me who I didn't see that hope. I didn't see that 3, 4 years ago,
mm.
but now it's a reality. Like now it's just like all right, this is still a priority to me, in spite of the fact that we have now reshaped the relationship. It's still a priority to me, but I have to continue to do the work for me so that I continue to now, be able to make those investments into the people around me. So yeah, I mean,
Mm.
the routine is second to none, and is unquestionable.
I love
And
it, man. Nate, tell the people where they can find out how to get to the conference, how to follow you, learn more about what you got going on, bro.
yeah, absolutely, man. The conference is gettoworthysummit.com, gettoworthysummit.com. You can also find us on Instagram as well, Get to Worthy Summit. All of the contents there, all of the information, ticket sales, rundown of the show, everything's right there, man. Definitely make sure y'all tap in. You can also follow me personally at Nate Evans Jr. That's pretty much on everything from Instagram to LinkedIn to YouTube. I must be the only Nate Evans Jr. in the world. I don't know.
Come on.
I don't know, but I got all of this stuff for
You got it
whatever.
first. You got it first.
Praise God. You know what I mean? Praise God. So, but yeah, Nate Evans Jr. Definitely follow me. Tap in with me. I love to have intellectual conversations, and I'm a student for life. I'm trying to learn as much as I can from everybody, and if I can apply it, I'll apply it, man. So yeah, tap in with me.
Yeah, man. Your episode on the Boy Man King podcast is dropping this Monday.
Hey,
As we want to
You
highlight you and put some promotion behind your upcoming event as well. Make sure you shoot us your flyers and stuff. We want to tag it on the back of the
for
content for
sure,
this week
for sure.
and just show you some love. And man, just appreciate all that you're doing. Chizzy, give us a
Yeah.
final word, man.
The final word is, man, seek ye first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all these things shall be added unto you. And that's just what it is. You know what I mean? Stay tapped in. Appreciate everybody for showing us the support. Nate, I wish you very much 100,000% success in your event coming up on May 24th and 25th. That is Bermuda Day to be putting it out there. That's our Bermuda Heritage Day. So that's a good day that you picked.
okay.
Appreciate that. Yeah. So, yeah, man, congratulations. And look for Nate's episode dropping tomorrow. Shout out to the Boy Man King team, man. Thank you.
Yeah, man. Shout out to the team again. Thank you. Follow us at Boy Man King Talk on Instagram. Subscribe to us on the
Yes,
Boy
sir.
Man King podcast on YouTube, man. And share it. If anything you get from our platform, please share, man. Thank you for all of our supporters. And we see you on the next one, man. The journey
Ready
continues.
continues.
Yeah.
Blessings. We locked up the line. We still
Yeah.
good.